What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Richard on Data. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Richard, and this is the channel where we talk about all things data, data science, statistics, and programming. So subscribe for all kinds of content just like this if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so YouTube notifies you whenever I upload a video. So I stumbled across this last week, the winners of the second annual Shiny contest. So basically, RStudio does this contest every year. They'll ask people to submit some really good, inventive Shiny apps, and then employees from RStudio, at least I'm guessing that's how this works, they will vote on the best apps. And so this is a pretty fun thing to step through. Those of you who've been following my channel for a little while probably know that I'm a huge fan of RShiny. I just think it's an incredibly flexible and powerful tool, and just really something that's good for delivering a lot of value to a client. So I thought something like this with some really cool Shiny apps from obviously people who are really skilled developers. I thought looking at these apps as well as what kinds of packages they're using, I thought this would be a lot of fun. It'd be really an educational experience as far as just demonstrating everything Shiny is capable of. And then it's helpful too to see what packages are being used, because at the end of the day, the functions from those packages are really the building blocks for these apps. So we're going to go through these apps and a little bit of the GitHub repositories from them. Before we do that, some usual asks that I have. If you haven't already, smash the like button to this video because that really does help my content reach a larger audience. Also, I will have a link to my Patreon account in the description of this video. So if you guys are willing to support me that way, that would be massively, massively appreciated. And obviously the link to this page as well as basically everything that I'm showing in this video, whether it's all of these apps as well as the GitHub repos that I'm looking at, all those links are going to be in the description as well. So we're going to start from the bottom here, meaning the first app that we're going to look at is number 5 on this list, and we're going to make our way all the way up to number 1. Now, there are also some runners-up that they mention here. These are obviously honorable mention type things. And I guess it won't come as a surprise to anybody that there's a lot of apps that are being done right now on the current pandemic that's making its way across the world. So check all these out too, because they're quite impressive in their own right. But without further ado, let's start with number 5, which is this app called Hex Make. So the idea here is making your own customizable hex sticker. Those of you who've been following RStudio for a while are familiar with these things. A lot of the really big R packages have their own hex sticker, so we can customize and make our own. So we've got this drop-down menu type thing on the left side, which allows us to customize various things, starting with managing the name. Maybe I want to make one for my own YouTube channel, so we call that Richard on Data. And it's a little big. So let's make that a little bit smaller, maybe to size 6. Nah, still a little bit too big, maybe 5.5. Yeah, so you get the idea. You can do that kind of thing. Managing the image. So the default image on here is that the devil horns fist thing like this. I feel like there's a name for that. And the name for it completely escapes me at this moment. So if anybody actually knows what this thing is called, leave that in the comments. But naturally, you can change the position for that. Move it up, down, to the left, whatever you want to do. Upload your own custom image. And then naturally, you can manage the hexagon as well. So maybe change the color of it. I like the color green. That looks pretty good. So you get the idea. Now, if we go to the GitHub repository, the Shiny developer here, his name is ColinFay. This app was created in what's called a Docker environment, based on the fact that there's this Docker file thing here. That's what that looks like to me. Then if we go to the description here, that's where he details the packages that were used to construct this. Shiny, obviously the first one that gets imported. Hex Sticker is a package that I'm assuming was a key component of doing this, and also Golem. So when I was putting this together for this video, this is actually a really interesting one that I was not aware of existed. So if we do a little Google search for that, the Golem R package, the crayon vignette pops up pretty quickly. And this is actually a pretty good vignette. It's pretty nicely detailed. And the idea here is the Golem package is just a kind of an add-on to Shiny that will allow you to make nice production-worthy Shiny apps, as well as just make all of the components of the Shiny app really nice and standardized. So within File, New Project in RStudio, you'll be able to select Package for Shiny app using Golem, and it'll standardize things for you so that you've got this app config, app server, app UI, all of those sorts of default files for you, so everything is in one nice, consistent naming convention scheme. And then also what I thought was pretty interesting is that a Golem app is its own package. So really cool stuff. Definitely worth checking out, I think. Moving on to app number 4, this next one is called Datify. And this one is all about music. So specifically, the kind of information they're looking at here is what's called valence and energy. Now, valence is a measure that describes the musical positiveness. Tracks with high valence sound more positive, while tracks with low valence sound more negative. And energy represents a perceptual measure of intensity and activity. So we have to select a couple artists here. So one of my personal favorite bands of all time is Modest Mouse. I'm going to select them. And we add them. It's a little slow. I think there's a little lag there until, yeah, there we go. That gets added in. Now, a few of you have pointed out in my Julia video that I wear a shirt of the band Dance Gavin Dance. So I'm going to throw them in here too. Search them. This is all pulling from Spotify. We'll add them in here. And then what it's going to do is it's going to populate a comparison between them. So there's a bit of information that's provided on the two. Modest Mouse is mostly characterized as alternative rock, indie pop, and indie rock. Dance Gavin Dance is mostly characterized as metalcore, pixie, and pop punk. And I apologize to those of you who are following along and you've never heard of either of these two bands before. But when we look at, oops, not that. We go over here to valence and energy. So they file Modest Mouse somewhere in the middle across all of these quadrants. You've got valence over here on the x-axis and energy on the y-axis. Now, Dance Gavin Dance is in the turbulent and angry category. I can confirm that's completely accurate. Modest Mouse is right in the middle of everything between turbulent and angry, happy and joyful, sad and depressing, chill and peaceful. That one I'm a little bit more on the fence about, but I'm also not really going to argue with it or dispute it. There's a timeline here. So, Modest Mouse has been making music since 1972. That doesn't sound right. 1996 sounds more like it. So this kind of information, you can plot valence, energy, that kind of thing, and how that's changed over the years. Comparison. This is more of a distribution kind of thing. And variety. Yeah, I don't know where this variety is exactly coming from. So all that's pretty interesting stuff. Again, all this information is coming from Spotify. Now, there's actually no GitHub repo for this app that I was able to find. The app here, all the information here seems to be coming from RStudio Cloud. The Shiny developer here, and I apologize because I'm completely going to butcher this name. Their name's Koen, Neijenhuijs. So, good stuff there. And it's broken down to a main Shiny app in an R Markdown document. This is inside of a Flex dashboard, so very similar to like a Shiny dashboard, but with its own sorts of features. Definitely a lot more HTML style stuff within the code. So they've got a main app, as well as their functions are separated. And then they've got one R file, which has their packages which they're loading. So this Spotify R package that they're using, that is basically an R wrapper for Spotify. So that's kind of where they're calling all this Spotify data. Obviously, they're calling Tidyverse. I don't know why they're calling ggplot2 separately, but I mean, I can't really blame them because ggplot2 is obviously a critically important thing that they're using here. Cowplot is a really awesome package for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. It's basically an add-on to ggplot2, but it helps to create more professional-looking graphs from within your ggplot2 framework. HighCharter is a wrapper for the HighChart JavaScript interface, so that's a pretty nice thing to use. Viridis helps you create Python matplotlib style graphs. Then you've got Plotly, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. That's for interactive style graphs. Then there's DQ Shiny. This one I wasn't familiar with. Then I researched it, and I think this one's discontinued from CRAN. So that's the nuts and bolts that are going on here. Again, the one that I was actually the most familiar with here that I'd like to point out for those of you who are unfamiliar with is Cowplot, because that's really an awesome package that I don't know how many are familiar with, but again, awesome package. And now the next app is my personal favorite of all of these, and it's a game inside of a Shiny app. Credit to the author here, Pedro Silva, because this is absolutely awesome. So again, it's a game, and like a lot of games, it's got an easy, medium, and hard. The way I do most games is I do medium, so we're going to do that here. So you swipe left or right on the card to start, so it's like Tinder, but inside of a Shiny app. So swipe right, holding the card in one of the directions will show you what metrics are affected by choosing that decision. So you have various decisions here that you have to make, and the idea here is you want to maximize your wealth, the public opinion of you, and the environment. And you also have this karma bar on the left. Now, I haven't played around with this for long enough to know how this exactly influences the game, but you go all the way from an angel to a devil. And apparently, yeah, that changes how the game goes for you. So we're going to play the game for a couple minutes here, and I'm basically going to try and do terribly. So we'll see how it goes. News is spreading that East Asia is going to be hit by a large food shortage. That sounds like way too much work. Oh, yeah, you can't swipe by too much. Oh, or maybe you have to swipe by more. Never mind. Election time is almost here. Big AG has, I guess that's Big Agriculture, has offered to deal with the electronic waste in North America free of charge. Sounds like it comes with strings attached. Ooh. It's very finicky on how much you need to swipe here. There's news of a huge armed conflict in the Middle East. I'm going to go huge hell no on that one. Looks like our investments in North America are finally paying it off. We can finally solve that problem. Oh, no, that's the good choice. So we don't need to spend it right now. Pollution in Central America has reached a tiny level. So I guess the pollution is starting. Just send a card or something. That sounds like a bad thing for you to do. A tiny toxic waste site has been discovered in East Asia. Not happening. This is fun, you guys. As you wake up, you notice 50 calls from your assistant. Oh, see, I see the opinion bar at the top here. It's gone down, so this is the equivalent in this game of me dying. But notice 50 calls from your assistant. Now what? Looks like you made some people really angry. Oh no, you're promptly told you're no longer in charge. Looks like it's over. Well, we had a good run, and game over. We survived for 3 weeks. So that was fun. And one of these days I'll actually play through this app and see how long I can actually survive for real. But the long and the short of it is, this is actually a Shiny app, which I found myself forgetting when I was playing through it. So this one was the one that I was most impressed by of all of these. So we've got their GitHub repo here. One thing to point out is they use these packages called shiny.grid and shiny.blank. I had personally never heard of them, and they're not available on CRAN. So to install these, you need to install them from GitHub using the DevTools package. Yeah, they've got nice description of what actually goes on here. And they basically make use of modules and R6 classes here. More on both of these in a minute here, but they basically break the code down into 6 key modules, which are the Game Manager, Data Manager, State Manager, Metrics Manager, Map Manager, and Deck Manager. They provide a lot of nice, useful resources here. One of the key packages that they used here is called SAS. The acronym for that escapes me at this moment. If I could find what that is here, then that would be great. Apparently I can't, but it's syntactically awesome, stylistic, it's something like that. So anyway, if we go into the source here, you get an idea of what's going on here. Oh, oops, not that. The app folder. So with some apps, they divide into global, server, and UI. The global part is optional, but that's typically where some more upfront stuff is going to live in. So again, they're using Shiny, Shiny.grid, Shiny.blank. HTML tools is pretty straightforward. TidyR is an incredibly awesome R package for going back and forth between wide and long format or vice versa. Leaflet is for making interactive visualizations. It's really good for making, I've used it one time before for making choropleth type maps. So like visualizing things inside of an interactive map. R6 is a pretty cool package. I haven't personally used it that much. Now, if you've read Hadley Wickham's Advanced R book, he has a whole chapter on R6 and R6 classes. It's basically a cool package for writing code inside of an object-oriented type of framework. So you make these R6 classes, and you have methods which are, rather than being totally generalized, these methods are specific to objects, the way a lot of Python code is written. They've got a Google Sheets package. Glue is a useful package occasionally for basically evaluating code that's inside of braces as actual R code. Utils is a pretty generalized R package for, it's not very specific necessarily, but for just general utilities. Dplyr, JSON Lite, which converts JSON objects to R objects and vice versa. Modules, SAS, and ReadXL. So SAS is another one of those key packages which they use to put all this together. Not something I'd used before, or again, even heard of before digging through this, but again, maybe something that you may be interested in checking out. Now we've got app number 2. This one's called GitDiscoverer for the DS community. And what this does is, within a really nice, clean-looking UI, compiles repositories and developers and projects which are trending. You can break this down by a few different languages of choice. There's R, Python, and JavaScript, as well as what time frame we want to see what things are trending. So you could do daily, weekly, or monthly. Let's look monthly and do that search. So some things which are trending here are swirl courses. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Swirl is an awesome resource for beginners and even intermediate people, I'd say, to learn different functionalities of R. One repo is trending is this awesome R thing. So if we view that, that's going to take us into GitHub. Now, this is an incredibly awesome compilation of different R resources. So there are packages and tools. Now, this is really nicely organized. There's things by 2020, 2019, etc. You've got things like data manipulation and graphic displays. And there's all sorts of things like, are you interested in natural language processing, Bayesian optimization? Honestly, this is really, really comprehensive. And for instance, if we look at data manipulation, you've got a variety of packages to suit your individual needs. So dplyr is awesome. Data table is great for big data. Reshape2 is good, but I like tidyr more. You get the idea. Going back in here, you can look at what developers are trending, popular projects. So this breaks down popular machine learning projects as well as deep learning projects. And just one thing while it's on my mind. This awesome R thing here, I'll have a link to that in the description as well, because there's a reason they call it awesome R. That their name of themselves is incredibly accurate in this instance. So yeah, just another really good resource here for finding other people's machine learning and deep learning projects and just seeing how they write code and learning from it. It's just really, really, really awesome. And honestly, I think with this app and with the code for it too, I think it's a little bit simpler even than a couple of those apps that we saw before. And when I say it's simpler, that's actually a good thing. I like simple apps. I don't like massively complex, overwhelming looking apps that just give me a headache. No. This app is nice and clean and simple and straightforward and easy to use. So credit to the author here, rajkstats. If we go into the app here, so they break it down like all these other apps do, the packages that they're using. A few that I'd never heard of before, like this HTTP UV, allows your R code to listen for and interact with HTTP and WebSocket clients. And this library HTTR, required for OAuth 2.0. They've got their data manipulation packages. So the tidyverse, of course, is the classic. JSON-Lite, just like the last one. Data.table is for your big data. Dplyr and per, they probably don't necessarily need to call separately because those things are part of the tidyverse once again. But those are for data manipulation and for functional programming, respectively. Then they've got Shiny. Shiny themes is for just adding more different themes to your Shiny app. Again, it's for presentation and that kind of purpose. ShinyJS. So interaction with JavaScript, Shiny widgets, they called ShinyJS twice. I guess that's a testament to how awesome ShinyJS is, I guess. Waiter is for, like you may have seen when I was toggling between different things inside of the app, there was a little indication that something was loading, and that's where the waiter is going to come from. And they've got their custom functions organized inside of these various scripts inside of the scripts folder. So if we go back to that, they organize all of their functions, much like that last app did, which I didn't really show there, but they organize all of their various functions here. So make tags, make cards. I see a lot of HTML in here, so that's always fun to write. Make dev cards, etc., etc. You get the idea, and you're able to piece these together and see how the app all comes together. And then the last app here is called BlogExplorer, and this one is really kind of like an interactive document more so than anything. But you'll really get the idea as we go through this, just how nice of a deliverable something like this can be compared to something like, just say you're putting the exact same kind of information inside a report, then you give it to your client, and then they read it, and then they put it in a recycling bin, and then they never see that information again. So this is all about 10 plus years of R blogs. So it's a variety of just summary information on just blogging that's been done on R over the last 10 years. So we can hit the Learn More button and go down. The data that's coming in here comes across 39,978 different articles written by 2,199 different authors. That's about, I had to count the digits there in my head, but 5.5 million words, which is the equivalent of 18,000 pages of a book. Over time, each one of these bars represents a month. And I'm looking at the 2011 time frame here because that's kind of the advent time of data science. And you see actually over time the amount of blogs that are written each month on R seems relatively flat. But over time, the number of non-stop words per blog has actually increased, or appears to be anyway. Now that's pretty interesting because I feel like even in the data science community, our attention span just seems to be getting smaller and smaller every year. I guess you blame social media for that. Most people are writing blogs on Monday, so that's interesting. I guess, I mean, whatever your flavor of entertainment is, and you got to get through your Mondays somehow. I guess that's the idea, publish on Monday, so that's when your audience is reading. And the number of monthly authors appeared to hit a peak around 2018. That kind of corresponds to when R was really hitting its top popularity, and that seems to be diminishing over time. And then as we go down here, we've got a network analysis. So you can isolate these things and kind of zoom in. So if we look at variable, that's related to things like correlation, analysis, value, factor, density, that kind of thing. Bayesian, I mean, unsurprisingly, that's related to things like alpha, beta, posterior, prior, model. Nothing too surprising there. So we can dig through their GitHub repository a little bit. Credit to the developer nz-stefan. Global is typically where they illustrate what packages they're using. So a lot less going on in this one, surprisingly. They've got the classic Shiny, dplyr, tidyr. Glue is where all the web scraping, the functionalities for that kind of thing are coming from. And then there are eCharts for R and Viz Network. Those are, again, packages for creating interactive visualizations. Viz Network is obviously for the network visualization kind of thing. And again, it's for this interactive JavaScript-based sort of visualization that you see here. And again, I mean, this one is probably not as complex as that third one is, but they've got their modules and they just break down where all the functionality is coming from. So hopefully as I've gone along through these apps, you get an idea of how powerful Shiny is and all the things that you can do with it. And that goes for those of you who maybe you're brand new to R, or you're a beginner or intermediate with R, but you've never used Shiny before. Shiny you can do virtually anything with. So hopefully, even for those of you who you're intermediate to advanced with R, I guarantee you saw some things here with some of these Shiny apps that you've never done before with your own apps. So maybe you got some inspiration to try some new things and push your own Shiny developer skills to the next level. So thanks all of you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment down below and let me know which of these apps is your personal favorite. And maybe let me know if there are any libraries that you saw along the way here that you never heard about. Because certainly several of these I never heard of myself. Then I'll see all of you in the not so distant future. Until then, Richard, on data.